Product design has been on my radar since early 2020, but I never knew what skills were actually needed to break into the industry. Hi everyone, this is Raya, and I'll be sharing my story prior to landing my first internship in product design. So at the time, I was studying at a visual arts program. So throughout high school, I was at a 4-year visual arts program. And so my understanding at the time of product design was very superficial, meaning that I understood it involved creating cool interfaces and prototypes, but I didn't really know much more than that. At the time, I was also really interested in other design heavy fields like industrial design and architecture. And fun fact, this video of my architecture portfolio is still my most watched video on this channel to date. When I was choosing between my programs, between business technology management, my current program, and architecture, I was 50-50. And so while I was doing research on which program I wanted to get into, I found that to be a fully licensed architect, you'd have to take a master's program, I think is a 2-year program after your undergrad, and I wasn't really too dead set on being an architect, and so I didn't want to pigeonhole myself into a career that I wasn't really sure I wanted to pursue. Because of that, and also because I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, I decided to go to business school, studying business technology management at Ryerson TMU. And fun fact, when I was creating my architecture portfolio, this is what I actually put on the cover, that I was interested in pursuing UX UI design. And even back when I didn't really know much about UX UI design and I was applying to architecture, fast forward 2.5 years later, it's the field that I'm pursuing. Kind of a fun coincidence, maybe not. Even though I decided to pursue business school and go to Ryerson Ted Rogers School of Management, my interest in product and UX UI design still manifested in the things that I did. One example of this was case competition. So during my first year and a bit of my second year, I participated in a lot of case competitions. And looking back, a lot of those case recommendations that I made were stemming from having a user-centric empathy for the user, which is pretty much in the center of product design because you're making products, digital products for users, and so you have to try to understand their problems and their pain points first before you can come to a solution, and you can't really come to a solution without having a comprehensive knowledge of the problem. And I remember that in some competitions, I even created mock-ups as visual aids for the judges, for the panels, so the team could more effectively communicate our business idea and what exactly we were proposing. And so throughout my first year and a bit of my second year, I was still not really sure what career path I wanted to take, and my first co-op term was coming up. So this summer is my first co-op term. This was coming up, and I knew that I had to start applying to jobs, and I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to apply to, like what role specifically or even what category of jobs. And so I was doing a lot of reflecting and looking back at my work, at my case competitions and hackathons, and I saw that my interests started to realign with the world of product design and essentially what I wrote in my architecture portfolio back in February of 2020. And because of all these different things pointing me towards product design and UX UI design, I decided to do some research and actually dig into what the heck product and UX UI design actually involves. And so I quickly discovered that it was a wonderful blend of tech, business, and creativity, and a lot of what I had already been doing was kind of around that area of product design. So my background in visual design, so that was 2016 to 2020 during my high school years, that was the visual design background. And now with my university program in business technology management, that was a little more on the business as well as the tech side of things. And it's funny that even before I knew product design was a thing that I could pursue, that my background was already kind of organizing itself in chronological order. And so the idea that I could have a career that leveraged my background all the way since the start of high school to my first few years in university really drove me to improve my skills in product design. During this time, I did a lot of research, a lot of reading, a lot of doing, a lot of hackathons, less so case competitions. And there was actually this one hackathon. It's called Product Design Sprint. It was held by Western University. The project that I did from that was actually the project that I presented to my vendor PM manager, or the hiring manager at the time, and that was what helped me land my job. And so if it wasn't for that hackathon that I did, that project that I did, I wouldn't have been able to land my first product design internship. During that time, I also did the course by Google. I think at this point everyone knows about it, the Foundations of Your User Experience course. I did the very first course, so I know you need to take, I think, all 7 courses to have the certificate. I just took the first one as the Foundations course. It honestly wasn't that difficult, but I think it gave me also a nice primer into what product design was. And so for the summer of 2022, I was trying to land my first product design job or UX design job, and it was definitely a struggle. So I started applying from November all the way until March, which was when I got my offer, but I didn't get that many interviews, and I'm so glad that for the interviews that I did get, I was able to use those to gradually improve my skills. And vendor PM was, I think, my second last or third last interview, but by that time I was already quite experienced at doing interviews, and thank goodness that I was able to knock that out of the park. And here we are now, August 2022. This is my second last week of work, and I have another coming UX design co-op in the coming semester. Looking back, I've always been a person who's needed a creative outlet to express myself since I was really young. I've always loved landscape photography, and then now to videography, to visual arts, and to now with product design. It's really interesting how even before I knew what product design was, my background really lined up to create a solid foundation to what I'm doing now. And I don't know if you will necessarily be able to replicate this, but I think if anything, the moral of this video is that regardless of what background you come from, a lot of product designers now have very interesting career paths and non-linear career paths. And so maybe for those of you who are looking to break into product design, or maybe if you're a career switcher, if you could leave with one thing, it would be this. Look at your past experiences. You can go all the way back to elementary school, go to high school, and pick certain traits, certain soft skills, because you probably won't be able to transfer hard skills. So pick the soft skills that you can use to frame who you are as a product designer, and basically use those experiences that you might not think are relevant and use those to frame your expertise as a product designer. So for example, my background in visual design in high school wasn't really the visual design that you see in product design. And so how I actually frame my visual arts program in high school is that even though there aren't a lot of technical skills that are transferable, so like painting, you don't really paint, you do get a lot of soft skills that are transferable. So for example, learning how to articulate your design decisions, that was a huge part of what I did during the visual arts program, and that's how I framed and flipped that experience into something of value to what I'm doing now. I hope that makes sense. And so my next video will be about my portfolio case study that I showed to get my job right now, and the video after that will be about my experience at vendor PM, what I did, what I learned, all that fun stuff. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure to subscribe, and if you like this video, if you found it helpful, maybe entertaining, make sure to leave a like down below. Also follow me on LinkedIn. I'll link it down below if you want to see more up-to-date updates, if you want to see more timely updates. If you want to see more timely updates, I usually post the latest and greatest there. So if you don't want to miss anything, you can follow me on LinkedIn. But otherwise, I'm Raya. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.